Hi everyone, this is Eagle News. I'm Ralph Cornell in Washington. It's the last Saturday of the month, June 25th, 2022, here in the nation's capital. Our coverage begins now. Children as young as 6 months may now be given the COVID-19 vaccine in Washington, D.C. Rossell Feria reports.
COVID-19 vaccines for children ages 6 months and older will be offered at COVID centers in all 8 wards of Washington, D.C. starting June 21st. The announcement follows the approval by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, of both Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. The Moderna vaccine approved for 6 months to 5 years old is 2 doses. The Pfizer vaccine approved for 6 months to 4 years old is 3 doses. The pediatric vaccines will be available at all district COVID centers, health clinics, and doctors' offices across the U.S. Capitol. The vaccine will also be available at select pharmacies for children 3 and up. DC Health recommends that all children between 6 months and 4 years old receive this vaccine as soon as possible, preferably through their primary care physician, who can also provide the other important childhood vaccinations. The DC Mayor's Office says COVID-19 has become one of the top 10 causes of pediatric death, and tens of thousands of children and teens have been hospitalized because of the virus. While children and adolescents are typically at lower risk than adults of becoming severely ill or hospitalized from COVID-19, the effects of the virus are unpredictable. Clinical trials for both Moderna and Pfizer vaccines for children 6 months and older have shown the vaccines to be safe and effective. With over 6% of the district's population being under 5 years, DC Health says vaccination is the best way to protect children from COVID-19 and help end the COVID-19 pandemic. Rossell Feria, Washington, D.C., Eagle News.
It is summer, and the White House calls on Congress to give Americans the much-needed relief from soaring gas prices. In Washington, D.C., Kristen Fragata tells us what President Joe Biden wants to happen.
U.S. President Joe Biden calls on Congress to suspend the federal gas tax for 3 months. The announcement came as American drivers are revving up for the summer season. They do so while facing the highest inflation in 4 decades. Biden asks lawmakers as well as gas stations to help relieve the pain at the pump.
I'd like to talk to you about the actions I'm announcing to bring down gas prices. First, today I'm calling on Congress to suspend the federal gas tax for the next 90 days through the busy summer season, busy travel season. By suspending the 18-cent federal gas tax for the next 90 days, we can bring down the price of gas and give families just a little bit of relief. My message is simple. To the companies running gas stations and setting those prices at the pump, this is a time of war, global peril, Ukraine. These are not normal times. Bring down the price you are charging at the pump to reflect the cost you are paying for the product. Do it now. Do it today. Your customers, the American people, they need relief now.
Average gas prices in the U.S. soared since the start of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. From about $2 a gallon, the U.S. national average stands at a near $5 per gallon. Biden faces an uphill battle getting his gas tax relief plan passed. Republican congressmen are critical of the plan. His fellow Democrats skeptical.
Kristen Fragata, Washington, D.C., Eagle News.
Summer is not only vacation time, but it also means wildfire season. In a drive to boost support for the nation's wildland firefighters, President Joe Biden announces, among others, an increase in pay for federal firefighters. Jeff Sanidad has the details.
The Biden-Harris administration announces a series of steps to increase pay, create new mental wellness and health support, and establish a new wildland fire management job series for federal firefighters. These actions are funded by $600 million from Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law. The measure aimed to deliver an immediate temporary pay raise to federal wildland firefighters across the nation. The White House says the announced step set federal agencies on a path to continue working with stakeholders towards an updated competitive, and equitable pay structure. It also mentions a support system that will address challenges faced by the country's wildland firefighter workforce for decades. Aside from the increase in pay and new support for firefighters, the measures include improving recruitment and retention and establishing new wildland fire management occupational series. Jeff Sanidad, Eagle News, Washington, D.C.
Actor Bill Cosby used to be known as America's Dad. He became popular by playing clean-cut father roles on TV sitcoms. In real life, accusations of sexual abuse have plagued the entertainer. Recently, a jury in California determined that he had assaulted a teenager in the 1970s. In Los Angeles, Ivan Xavier Oliver reports.
In a civil suit filed against Bill Cosby, a jury found the U.S. entertainer sexually assaulted a teenager almost 5 decades ago. Judy Huth was awarded $500,000 in damages after a jury in Santa Monica, California, determined that Cosby molested her in 1975. After the decision, Huth commented on what the victory meant.
You know, it really does. It's been torture. It has. Just to be ripped apart, thrown under the bus, backed over, and this to me is such a big victory. It really is. To all victims.
Huth was just 16 years old when the abuse happened at the Playboy Mansion. She is now 64. The case was never prosecuted criminally because the statute of limitations had passed. Dozens of women have accused Cosby of assault. Cosby was jailed in Pennsylvania in a separate criminal case in 2018, but was freed last year when his conviction was overturned on a technicality. Ivan Xavier Oliver, Eagle News, Los Angeles, California.
A series of gun shooting incidents in Toronto, Ontario leaves 1 dead and 7 others injured. This brings the total number of shootings in the city to a record high. Yolanda Aspiras reports.
7 victims of gun violence in Toronto are recovering from their injuries after 4 separate shooting incidents took place on Father's Day, all within the span of 8 hours. 2 boys, 15 and 16 years old, were victims of the first incident. Only 2 hours later, a 3rd victim resulted from a second incident. All 3 people are in critical condition. In the 3rd incident, the man was pronounced dead on scene. 4 other victims were injured later that day after an unsanctioned car meet in Scarborough. It is said that all surviving victims will recover. The incidents bring attention to Toronto's ongoing issue with gun violence. The Toronto Police Service shows that the total number of shootings so far in 2022 is 192, whereas the average in recent years is 185. This year's total also exceeds last year's of 164, although 2022 is only halfway done. Police say no suspects have been arrested yet from the Father's Day shootings. Yolanda Aspiras, Eagle News, Toronto, Ontario.
On Friday, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down a monumental ruling about abortion, an issue that has been one of the most divisive in American politics. The conservative court overturned the 1970 landmark Roe v. Wade decision that basically gave American women the constitutional right to abortions. Judge Samuel Alito wrote the majority opinion in the Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization case, a case that challenged Roe v. Wade. The court says the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey are overruled. With the ruling, the authority to regulate abortion is now returned to the state level. Several stories from Thomas Likeness today. The Senate agreeing on a bipartisan gun violence bill. Milk plastic turned to sleeping bags and raincoats for the needy in Argentina. Plus, a baby white rhino born in Cuba. Here is correspondent at large.
And now news and commentary from around the globe. Is this a case of 1 step forward and 2 steps back? I'm talking about gun control in the United States. The good news first. The Senate has agreed to a bipartisan bill that toughens background checks for young firearms buyers. There's also tougher penalties for gun traffickers. This legislation still needs to be approved by the House of Representatives. Now, the not-so-good news. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that Americans have the right to carry firearms in public. This strikes down a law in New York State which required people to prove that they needed a gun permit for self-defense. States with similar laws will also be affected. Gun control activists call the ruling a setback. They say it will put more people at risk of injury, more people at risk of death due to gun violence. President Joe Biden says he's disappointed, says it contradicts both common sense and the Constitution. The nation, well, it's clearly divided on the issue, especially with the growing number of mass shootings. From my perch up here in Canada, I wonder whether the streets of America will someday resemble the Old West, as it was depicted on a lot of television westerns. People sauntering down the streets, guns in their holsters, ready to make a quick draw. In Argentina, a novel way to recycle milk bags. First, some background. Milk bags. Unlike most of the United States and Canada, milk in South America is sold in plastic bags, not cartons. But what to do with the empties? Well, volunteers in the capital of Buenos Aires are turning this plastic waste into something that can help the homeless. Things like insulated sleeping bags. They also produce raincoats to help keep people dry and insulators to protect them from the high humidity in the city. This time of year it's getting chilly down there as it's winter in the southern hemisphere. Temperatures are harsh for people living on the streets. Hypothermia, always a danger. Several organizations are helping out with this effort. They're making about 600 products a year. Now this work is being expanded to prisons, where inmates will also help make these items. In a war zone, where do you vacation? A lakeside resort, of course. Beachgoers in eastern Ukraine are not letting rockets and bombs stop them from enjoying the sunshine. At this lakeside resort near Sloviansk, crowds are not as big as during the pre-war days. Some locals are still coming out for a day in the sun, though, a chance to swim in the lake. This lake is also renowned for its salty waters. People bathe in it seeking relief from joint pains. The sound of nearby rockets and missiles don't seem to bother the day trippers. This area is only 10 kilometers away from the Russian front line. A birth announcement now. Say hello and welcome to Ali. He's a baby white rhinoceros, born at the National Zoo in Havana, Cuba. Here you see him out for a stroll with his mother. Her name is Catherine. Shortly after he was born, other animals in the zoo, such as the elephants, they all came down to meet Ali. Zoo officials say this birth is significant. White rhinos are an endangered species, and the zoo is hoping to build up a gene bank. This so that some of the offspring can be given to national parks in Africa. Poaching has wiped out the species on that continent. I'll be taking a bit of a break, so it'll be back in 2 weeks. But in the meantime, I wish you all peace, joy, and happiness. Thomas I. Likeness, correspondent at large, Eagle News.
Campaigning for the upcoming Papua New Guinea national elections is in full swing. Echo Hortaleza Quinola on this week's Oceania at a Glance.
Voters are getting ready to elect a new government in Papua New Guinea. Voting in the national election begins July 9th and continues until July 22nd. A record number of candidates are seeking public office. There are nearly 3,500 names on the official list of nominees. Of those, 142 are women. For the national parliament, 118 members will be elected.
And now we're into the campaign period. Now the nomination has ceased, and actually in my district, which is the Samrai Moa district in Milne province, we have over 30 candidates, actually contenders for the Samrai Moa seat, and I am there to defend that seat. As I've stated earlier on, I will actually reposition and also consolidate my efforts. And the platform that I would stress on, one is the human capital development, that's education. Currently, I have a policy where we support the disadvantaged families in the district. We pay 100% school fees, and we pay from the technical level up to university level.
The campaign has been marred by violence. There have been reports of vehicles, buildings, and other properties destroyed. Electoral Commissioner Simon Sinai has called on candidates to respect each other. There's no doubt the campaign is in full swing. Posters, motorcades, tarpaulins, and the like are displayed everywhere.
Okay, Port Moresby, we have done exceptionally well. The development that we have taken place is unprecedented. It's never happened before, but for me as the incumbent, I am not taking that for granted, and I am not going to rest. For me, what we have achieved is done and dusted. It's history. I am prepared and going to push myself to look to the future, to do more for the economy and for our people and for the social sector, promoting gender equality, peace and security in our city. And I'm confident that we will do more this coming term of Parliament.
Representatives from the Commonwealth Secretariat Observer Group will travel to Papua New Guinea to watch the elections to ensure that it is conducted with democratic standards. Eko Hortaleza Quinola, Oceania at a glance, Eagle News.
Climate experts are telling us this year will be another above-average Atlantic hurricane season, and they are saying it is never too early to prepare. Melissa Potez on this week's Down to Earth.
The beginning of June marked the start of the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season, which extends until November 30. According to forecasters at NOAA's Climate Prediction Center, this is the 7th consecutive year above-average hurricane activity is projected. It is predicted that there will be a 65% chance of an above-normal season. NOAA is also forecasting a range of 14 to 21 named storms, of which 6 to 10 could become hurricanes, including 3 to 6 major hurricanes, category 3, 4, or 5, with winds of 111 miles per hour or higher. NOAA Administrator Rick Spinrad reminds us that the impact of one storm can be felt for years.
These storms have taught us many lessons. One of the most important is that it's never too early to prepare for the devastating impacts of hurricanes. And while we're here today to preview an outlook of what trends will shape this year's hurricane season, it's crucial to remember that it only takes one storm to damage your home, neighborhood, and community. Preparedness is key.
The 2022 Atlantic Seasonal Outlook will be updated by NOAA's Climate Prediction Center in early August, ahead of the season's peak. Melissa Potas, Down to Earth, Eagle News.
Now let's go to the world of sports. For all you Golden State Warriors fans, congratulations. Your team is the 2022 NBA champs. Here's Jay Rasquides from the streets of San Francisco celebrating with Dub Nation.
The Golden State Warriors fan base called Dub Nation filled the streets of San Francisco to welcome the 2022 NBA champs. This is the 4th time in the last 8 years that the Warriors brought home the NBA championship trophy to the Bay Area. And by the looks of the crowd, celebrating never gets old. A dazzling performance from Stephen Curry-powered Golden State to the organization's 7th NBA Finals crown. The 4-time NBA champ earned the NBA Finals MVP for the first time in his impressive career. With the core group of Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green healthy and a talented group of young and veteran players, the organization is hopeful that there will be more victory parades in the coming years. Jay Raskidas, ABC Sports International, Eagle News.
Still in sports, NBA teams are already looking to next season. Our New York team was there at the NBA draft. Here's PJ Hughes with the report.
After a 2-year hiatus due to the COVID-19 pandemic, NBA draft returns to Barclays Center, where this year's class will begin their lifelong dream to play against LeBron, Giannis, Steph, and KD. Emotions ran high for Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith Jr., Keegan Murray, and Jaden Ivey, this year's top 5 lottery draft picks. With their families by their side as NBA Commissioner Adam Silver called their names on stage, it was a joyous occasion that made them reflect on how hard they worked to pave their way into the league. Banchero heads to the Orlando Magic and becomes the 4th player from Duke to be selected as the number 1 overall pick, joining Elton Brand, Kyrie Irving, and Zion Williamson.
Just hearing the commissioner, call my name, that was a priceless moment. I'll never forget it. And it brought me to tears. I've never been brought to tears about anything that was positive. So that was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me.
Holmgren takes his basketball talents to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who drafted the 7-foot versatile center from Gonzaga. Smith Jr. lands with the Houston Rockets, where he will play alongside Filipino-American guard Jalen Green. Murray joins the talented Sacramento Kings roster, featuring De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, and Harrison Barnes.
It was a night that I'll never forget, seeing the smiles on my family's faces, seeing the smile on my brother's face, seeing the smiles on my family's faces in the crowd. It was just something I'll never forget. Making them proud is just something I worked for all my life.
Ivy heads to Detroit. His mother, Niele, the women's basketball head coach for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, started her WNBA career with the Detroit Shock and served as an assistant coach for the Memphis Grizzlies.
It's actually an amazing story, to have a mother who's been in the league. You don't see too many stories like that, and the bond that we have, is special. And I thank her for all the things that she's done for me. And I know I wouldn't be on this stage, I wouldn't be here without her.
Congratulations to the class of 2022, a special class as the NBA celebrates its 75th anniversary. Next up for the rookies, Las Vegas, as the NBA Summer League kicks off in July. PJ Hughes, ABC Sports International, New York.
Today, we will take a trip to Panama to get a glimpse of what is called King of the Streets, Sean Davila on this week's Window to Latin America.
Taking public transportation in Panama is an adventure on its own. Brightly painted, loud, and fast public buses dubbed King of the Streets roam the roads. They parade the country's culture by their colorfully painted bodies. They give the riders the urban soundtrack of Panamanian streets through heart-thumping, eardrum-popping Latino music. These buses are called Diablo Rojo. It means Red Devil, a significant cultural symbol here. The infamous public transport got the name not because of how they look, but because of their reputation as overcrowded death traps. Diablo Rojo buses traveled the highways of Panama for more than 40 years as part of the old public transportation system. But its lack of maintenance, small seats, no air conditioning, smoke belching, and the often criticized and called out recklessness of drivers eventually turned off passengers. In 2013, a modern transport system condemned the use of Diablo Rojo. Now they are increasingly scarce, with their routes only on the outskirts of the capital.
Though in danger of extinction, it continues to be a tourist attraction. Resident souvenirs like keychains, mugs, t-shirts, and refrigerator magnets. It will remain an icon, a hallmark of Panama. In Ciudad de Panama, Sean Davila, Window to Latin America, Eagle News.
This summer, vouchers are welcome at local farmers markets in Pennsylvania. Myla Sambulan tells us more on this week's Community Care.
Here in Pennsylvania, warmer weather comes with the opening of outdoor farmers markets. And this means Fresh and local fruits, vegetables, and herbs are ready for purchase and consumption.
Currently, 1 out of every 4 Pennsylvanians, about 3.4 million people, are aged 60 and over. According to the most recent health rankings report, more than 11% of these older adults have faced the threat of hunger over the past 12 months. This is why the Farmers Market Nutrition Program is an important resource and can help seniors by offering access to fresh foods that can provide proper nutrients to help keep them healthy. We know that older adults who face food insecurity have diets that are less nutritious, and they experience worse health outcomes. In contrast, seniors who can access nutritious foods through programs like the Farmers Market Nutrition Program are healthier, get hospitalized less, and are less likely to go into a nursing home or some other long-term care facility.
Pennsylvania urges low-income seniors and women's infants and children or WIC program recipients to use vouchers from the Pennsylvania Farmers Market Nutrition Program or FNMP to purchase Pennsylvania's grown fruits, vegetables, and fresh-cut herbs from FNMP-approved farmers or farmers markets and farm stands across the Commonwealth. These vouchers are distributed from June through September in an effort to protect vulnerable Pennsylvanians. Vouchers are distributed to participants from WIC clinics and area agencies on aging. The vouchers redeemed through the FNMP program and dollars directly supporting Pennsylvania farmers who participated in the program are valued at more than $3 million annually. Myla Simbulan, Eagle News, Swarthmore, Pennsylvania.
Get up and move. That's what these kids are trying to do as they make good use of their time and technology. Lance Ragashan on Health is Wealth.
Kids use online fitness training to get in shape.
30 seconds. You try to bring your shoulders.
18.
You keep your hips closed.
My fitness goal is to exercise every day so I can get stronger. To be able to do pull-ups easily.
Just have 6-pack abs. To run a mile in under 10 minutes.
Do 10 or 8 push-ups in a row. Is to do 10 perfectly done push-ups every day. When I do 20 push-ups, they turn out really sloppy.
4, 5, 4, 5, 6.
These exercises were easy. Individually, these exercises were pretty easy.
These exercises were not that challenging for me. It was pretty easy. The exercises were very easy.
The exercises were not easy and they were difficult.
2, 3, 4, 2, 3.
Straight punch.
Now there's a punching bag in front of you.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Children should exercise because so that they can get stronger, so that they don't get sick. They need to stay fit, healthy, and strong.
They can maintain their bodies physically.
It's good for our body
to be healthy.
because we have to stay active and we won't get sick. They have to stay fit and healthy. Just because the pandemic has kept many people indoors, that doesn't mean you have to be a couch potato. With online fitness, kids and grown-ups can still exercise anywhere they have internet. And save the potatoes for french fries, a healthy version, of course. Lance Rogashon, Health is Wealth, Eagle News, Los Angeles, California.
Thank you all for joining us again. If there are stories or topics you want us to share with you, just comment below. View, like, share our other shows. City Limits with Alan Basaliahe. Connected with Dr. David. Take a seat and join us with Anna Kui. Plate Date with Mike Hudson and Friends. Plus, Journey, Stories of Filipinos in Canada with Kathleen Cruz. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Eagle News Live. I'm Ralph Cornell. Happy weekend, everyone.